Ki Fateh Ji. Welcome to another session of Khoj Gurbani. This is Ravinder Singh here, joining you from Columbus, and we are reflecting on Asa Ki Vaar. And today we have Prabpreet Singh from, is it Delhi or Dubai? I'm not sure.
Delhi.
Delhi. He will be guiding us through Pauri 15, is it, Harvinder? I'm sorry. Or is it 15?
Yes.
Hanji, Prabpreet Singh, can you hear me? And if you're there,
yes, I can hear you, Virji. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
So it's all yours. Please take it away.
Thank you, Virji. So I'll be going through Pauri number 15 today. I'm sorry I don't have a presentation. I would be just referring to the Slok and the Pauri. Just to begin with, I would just like to, before I even read the Slok, just to set the context, what I could understand after reading it. In this Slok,
do you want to read the Slok and Pauris first and then come back to your, just so that it level sets everyone?
Right, I am just doing that, Vijay. Just giving a brief background, 1 minute, and then I'm jumping into reading it. So just for a quick context, Guru Nanak here is when we read through the Pauri so that we all can think about it. I found it very, very thought-provoking. He is using the backdrop of so-called religious ceremony in Hindu Brahman Mat, where a person at a particular age is anointed with a thread, and it is a purification, so-called, that the person is purified. Now, the scene that Nanak sets or portrays, where there's one person who comes, and worldly person like me will with all the sins, and how a particular process is said to be transformative, which is very contradictory in various ways. In one moment, he was one person, he or she, and then in another moment, he or she is anointed by a particular ceremony which is upheld by the Pandits and the people. So he raises some provocative questions. How is this possible? And it's interesting, one, the questions to delve into. Second, that we really need to raise questions and think about whatever we do in our daily lives. What is the real intention and motivation and deep feeling behind it, which is very important. So, which without much ado, I'll first read through the Pauri and then come back to what my takeaways from it are. Slok Mahalla Pehla, Daya Kapaha, Santokh Soot, Jat Gandi, Sutwat, Eho Janeu Ji Ka, Hai Tapande Kat. Na eho tutte na mal lagੈ, na eho jale na jaye, tan sumanas nanka, jo gal challe paye. Chokad mul anaya, beh chauke paya, sikha kan chadaya, gur brahman thiya. Oh mua oh chad gaya, oh mua oh chad paya, vet ga gaya. महला पहला, लख चोरियां लख जारियां, लख कूड़ियां लख गाल, लख ठगियां पहनामियां, रात दिनस जी नाल। तग कपाहा कत्तिए, बामण वट्टे आए, कोह बकरा रिन खाइया, सबको आखे पाए। होए पुराना सुटिए, पी फिर पाइए होर, नानक तग न टुटई, जे तग होवे जोर। महला पहला, नाए मनिए पत उपजै, सालाही सच सूत, दरगे अंदर पाइए, तग न टूटस पूत। महला पहला, तग न इंद्री तग न नारी पलके थुक पवै नित दाड़ी तग न पैरी तग न हथी तग न जीवा तग न अखी वेत गा आपे वतै वट पागे अवरा कतै लै पाड़ करे वियाह कड कागल दसे राह सुन वेखो लोका एह विडाण मन अंधा नाव सुजान पौड़ी साहिब होए दयाल किरपा करे ता साई कार कराए सी सो सेवक सेवा करे जिसनो हुक्म मनाए सी हुक्म मनिए होवे परवान ता खसमे का महल पाए सी खसमे पावे सो करे मनो चिंदिया सो फल पाए सी ता दरगह पैदा जाए सी. So that's the slok and the podi. Now coming back to the beginning, slok mehla pehla, the first few lines. दया कपाह संतोक सूत जत गंडी सत वट एह जनो जी का हई तपाडे kat. So Nanak here starts from talking about the ceremony of putting this sacred thread around the body of a person. And he starts with the context that what kind of janeu do we really need? So he says that it is not a physical janeu, or maybe not just a physical janeu, but what we need is a janeu, a thread of the inside, one that is not temporary, one that is not lost, one that does not get dirty, but one that stays with me forever. Now, that forever can have different interpretations for different people. We may say it goes with us to the heavens and to the next birth and stays forever. Or for me, a more relevant meaning comes across is that when I am living this life moment by moment, it is moving with me. I see it's quite natural for me to see the progression of life as one moment after the other, whereas it is continuous. We try and live it in moments where our thinking, our mind plays different kinds of personalities, and there is a constant tussle or a war or some turmoil going on inside. And when we wear that permanent janeu, or when we merge with that permanent consciousness, it keeps moving with us. It stays permanently with us, with our thought process, with our indriya, with our man, so to say. So literally here Nanak is saying daya kapaha, that again a lot of significance is given to the words daya, santok, jat. Compassion be the cotton, santok, contentment be the thread woven from that cotton, jat, celibacy, restraint, be the knot in that thread, and sat, the truth, be the what, be the twist in the three threads that the Brahman makes. E janau ji ka haita pade kat. So he's referring to the Pandit, that do you have such a janeu? Na eo tutte na mal lage, na eo jale na jaye. So again, what I just said, it's a permanent janeu compared to the physical one. Na e jale na jaye. It does not go with the physical body, or it does not vanish with my very, very transient thought process. It's always there with me. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to acquire a personality to have daya. I don't have to consciously be in contentment. Na eh jale na jaye. Any situation, internal or external, does not make it vanish even for a trifling moment. It always stays with me within. That's something very uh, important. I feel tan su manas nan ka jo gal chale paye, and only he or she is blessed or great who has done the rightful deed mentally to find such a genuine. The next paragraph, chokad mul anaya beh choke paya. Now here he's talking about how easy or how effortless it is to acquire this genuine. There is no doing of the mind, or there is no cleansing. Uh, there is no effort or lack of effort, so to say. And it is just a ceremony which anybody can go through and be called transformed. The Pandit Chokad Mul Anaya gets the genuine for 4 coins, meaning very, very cheap. Anybody can get it, even in the worldly sense, whether poor or rich. Behe, whereas, just to add to that, I think particular castes were not even allowed, the Shudras, to go through this ceremony. So that's another contradiction to talk about separately. Behe choke paya. So sitting in a particular position, he would put it, Sikha kan chadaiya. So the Pandit would whisper a sikha, a shiksha, a sermon into the ear of the person going through the ceremony, Gur Brahman Thiya, and become the guru of that person. So just whispering a shiksha is transformative for that person. Oho mua, o chadpaya, vet ga gaya. So when the person dies, when the body is burnt, vet ga, a literal meaning I looked up in Mahan Kosh, it says, without kage rehet, bina jinya ude, vet ga gaya. So the person loses the janya again, pointing at how temporary it is. Mehla Pehla. Now, in this paragraph, I found that Nanak is talking about the duality and the contradictions that are existing in the way we think about things and the way the society is working. On one hand is the person who is actually being anointed and being given the Janeu. On the other side, there is the Brahman who is the master of ceremony, so to say. And on the third is the public, which is the one which is stamping the ceremony. If it is only the person and the Brahman, the ceremony, so to say, is not stamped by the society. But here, these three entities are there. But what makes me curious is, are these the three entities which are the most important, or is it my mind, is it present? And looping back to the first paragraph, which is the root, which is the anchor when we go through this entire body, that it is the transformation of the mind. Daya kapaha santok soot jat gandi satvat. So those qualities, or naam, is who should really be my man. Naam, or should be the spectator, or the participant, that probably is missing. So lakh choriyan, lakh jariyan, lakh kudiya, lakh gal. So here the contradiction is that I am continuously doing acts of deceit, falsehoodness, theft, lakh thagiyan, pehnamiyan, Paap Raat Dinas Jinal. Now here the G comes. So Nanak is pointing that actually with my G, which is the main element, if I could say, to be transformed, what I am doing with that G is nothing. That G is not even a participant of the ceremony at the physical or the sentient level. That G constantly, Raat Dinas G Nal, I am doing these acts of deceit and thagitoria. Tag Kapaha Katiye Brahman Vate Ai. And the Brahman, a second person comes. He makes a thread out of cotton and spins it, twists it, twists the three threads, and makes a janeo. How simple is that? Koho bakra rin khaya, sabko aake paye. So koho bakra, koho is sacrificing the goat, rin khaya and preparing the goat, sabko aake paye, and the public, the gathering which is there, they would eat the goat and then they would celebrate and say that this person has paye, he has received the blessing. So again, how transactional the affair is and how disconnected from the person itself. Hoye Purana Sutiye, P Fir Paiye, Or Nanak Tag Na Tutei, Je Tag Hue Jor. So the flimsy nature of this entire affair, and maybe what we are doing in when I look inside, not just this practice of Janeo, but what I do in my day-to-day life, I keep acquiring such Janeos, which make me feel celebrated among the public. Even for example, a small hosting a small event where I would host a dinner party and everybody comes and eats and celebrates some occasion and everybody congratulates me. I feel very big. But is that something very momentary? Am I really big from inside? Is Nanak pointing to these such very transient acts, these such deceitful plays that my mind writes every moment and keeps me engaged, does not allow me to think outside the realm of the games of the mind, and which kind of correlates to another tuk from Asa Ki Vaar, if I'm not mistaken, that Dukh Daru Sukh Rog Paya. So there as well, until I am in Dukh, Sukh is Rog for me because I'm always caught up in the games of the mind and it is keeping me happy and it is playing games with me. Only when I am in Dukh, I try to think outside of it and I reject the intoxicated play which is going on, and I really shed the baggages, and I'm able to be in a naked form and see beyond these games. So hoye purana sutiye, pi fir paiye, or just throw it like any other object, and you can easily acquire it a new one. So it is very temporary. You get a new and an old one, old, new, like any other materialistic thing. Nanak tag na tutai, je tag huwa jor. So this is not the thread that you're after. If that tug is really has the jor, the strength, the permanence of truth, of naam, then it will never break. It will stay with you forever. Mehla pehla, nae maniye pat upje. Now here from the contradiction from this setting of the disconnect between what we are doing and what we are trying to achieve, Nanak comes to this para where he points out what really we need to do. Nae maniye pat upje salahi sach soot. So here the word maniye stands out for me. It is not just that some pandit needs to whisper the name in my ear. Some jnani needs to come and tell me a Shabad that I need to recite. Neither I just need to read it. I need to submit myself and be in a situation where from suniye to maniye, where my mind is completely submitted to it, and I feel related at a deep level to the Naam, Nae Maniye. It is only then that Pat Upje I receive the honor, the praise, not the honor and the praise of the public, which just comes to eat the goat, but the honor and the praise, the grace of the Lord, which is ever shining. But when I sort of turn towards the Lord, I start receiving it. Pat upajay salahi sach soot. And through his praise, I receive this soot, the thread of truth and truthful living. Darge andar paiye, tag na tuta suput. It is this which is the pure thread and gives me entry to the house of the Lord in a um, kind of a uh, uh, you know, the house of the Lord, whether it is my man, andar paiye tag na tute spoot, which never breaks. Mehla pehla. And here Nanak shifts to talking about uh, the taga, the janiyau, how we kind of transfer responsibility, which is our own. So this, on the spiritual journey, the takeaway I got from here, the only responsibility is our own. And so often we do ceremonies, we do things where we transfer that responsibility to some intermediary, the panda in this case. Whether I go to the Gurdwara or when something good happens, we go there and ask the Jnaniji to do the ardas. Is it in some ways similar to what Nanak is saying here? Ardas, isn't the ardas my own, and for each of us to do it directly with the Lord? So, what about this system where we are going somewhere, asking somebody to do something for us? Does it really work? These are questions that I wanted to raise and everyone to think about, and that come to my mind very often as well. So here the kind of the nature of the pandit who just has a very business centric role to play. Tagna indri, tagna nari. So Nanak is talking about the pandit, that this pandit himself who has come here to put the thread on this person, he does not have the genuine on his internal being. Tagna indri, tagna nari. He doesn't have a thread on the sensory organs nor on the nari. The literal meaning is veins. Not quite sure what else it is referring to. Palke thuk pave nit dadi. So every moment, thuk pave nit dadi. So thuk, the dadi, the beard is being spat upon. So literally meaning that I am losing my honor, my spiritual honor, by doing these lak choriyan, lak jariyan every moment. Every I'm losing my honor every now and then. Tagna peri, tagna hathi. I don't have the thread on my feet, on my hands. Tagna jiva, tagna akhi, on the tongue, on the eyes. Uh, Vetga ape vate. Vetga meaning without the thread. Vate, twisting the thread. So the Pandit who himself is without sans the thread on his soul, is braiding the Janeo for somebody else. So how interesting is that? What tage avrakate? Le pad kare viyaha, kad kagal dasera. So the Pandit takes money and conducts the marriage ceremony. Kad kagal dasera, and he is so, you know, accomplished that he takes out a piece of paper and tells the path to other people, like an astrologer does. Sun vekho loka eh vidan, man anda now sojourn. So Nanak says this is the Vedant, this is the contradiction, that man anda, now sojourn. So one way to look at it would be that the Pandit himself is blinded at the level of the mind, the man, and he is the one who is being called sojourn of the one of wisdom, and this is a contradiction. And it is we who has to look deep inside, and not through the Pandit, that we will achieve the name of the Lord. Now, coming to the Pauri, here I think Nanak is kind of concluding. So, if my mind, when I go through the slok, and I understand Nai Maniye at a deep consciousness level, then what happens? Given this context, where Nanak is telling the mind that Daya Kapaha Santok Sut Jat Gandi Sat Vat, when I come in acceptance of mentally wearing this kind of Janyau, then what happens? Pauri, Sahib hoye dayal, kirpa kare, ta sai kar karaisi. So the way I look at it is Sahib hoye dayal, not in a way where uh, the Sahib, the Lord, will shower his grace, because that seems very transactional. If I do something, then grace will happen. Grace is already there, but once I acquire that vision, I come into submission, I am able to see the grace of the Lord, Kirpa Kare, the grace and the Kirpa Kare, which is happening, which He's doing every moment. Ta Sai Kar Karaisi. So when I understand the need for the inner Janyau, then I can see that my Sahib is Dayal, and it shall guide me to do the rightful deed. And Sai Kar Karaisi, not a physical car like we read earlier, but of mentally wearing the Janyau. So Sevak Seva Kare, Jisnu Hukam Manaisi. So that Sevak Seva Kare will receive Sevan Karna. So that Sevak will receive the inner Janyau who accepts the hukam of the Lord, and not in fact of the Pandit or of my own deceitful mind. हुक्म मनिए होवे परवान ता खसमे का महल पाएसी खसमे पावे सो करे मनो चिंदिया सो फल पाएसी ता दरगे पैदा जायसी. So here what stands out is again mano chindeya so fal paisi. So when I desire or yearn for it from my internal being, mano chindeya, when I am really sincerely committed to it, like another line goes, birha birha akhiye birha tu sultan. So birha, that yearning, that burning desire from inside to merge with the one, when I come in that kind of a consciousness, khasme pave so kare, I merge with the hukam, or come in acceptance with the hukam and receive the grace of the Lord. Tat darge paida jaisi. And wearing this robe of truth, I walk to the house of the Lord. So that's a very, I would say, very literal and very simple how it came to me. And I just would like to close it here and open it for discussion. I think that will help all of us learn better from each other, but leave it with a few questions
Haji,
that I do
Prabri,
have in my mind.
thank you very much, and we will follow that process. Thank you very much for your
Sure,
exposition
Vijay.
here.
Sure, Vijay.
And now, before we get into, before I approach each one of you, I want to remind you that we have a full house today. So I would request each one of you to limit your comments to a few minutes, bearing in mind that it's a full house. We want to be able to pose questions to Prabpreet directly so that he has an opportunity to respond. So I would ask that when you do make your comments, try and tune into what you found interesting or new, or any new insight that you may have gleaned from Prabpreet, or what you may have disagreed with, or if you have any questions for him. So with that, I'm going to start as the images appear to me on my screen. So I'm just going to follow that order. So Chetandeep, you're on the extreme left on my screen. We'll start with you.
Hanji Veerji, Prapreet, thank you so much for your sharing your understanding. I don't have any questions, but I just have a comment on or rather an observation on the first slok. The first two lines, or at least the first line, really appeals to me when Guru Nanak says, Daya Kapa Santok Soot Jat Gandi Satvat. And this theme appears in Japji Sahib too. Basically, what I understand from here is that who is just
do you want me to come back to you?
Sure, thank you.
Okay, we'll come back to you. All right, Eileen.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I guess the only comment, because I also took this Pauri fairly literally, because it's just so vivid and very, you know, the message comes across to me very strongly. I guess the only comment was just thinking about Sikhi and Rahat. You know, I think that I have a lot of conversations. Was just having one recently with other Sikhs who are talking about, you know, the image of a Sikh, and, you know, the ritual elements that could be, you know, perceived as, you know, kind of similar to the thread. So, you know, if you are, you know, wearing turban, is it, you know, something that's coming from a place of pride or vanity, or some kind of an image related, you know, intent, or is it something else? And I guess the topic is relevant, I think, for us as well, in terms of, you know, how it's manifest for, you know, for a Sikh who's trying to improve their mind and inner state, but is also, you know, having an outward external expression.
Well, thank you very much, Eileen, for bringing that up. As a matter of fact, last week we were also talking about something similar, namely the hypocrisy that sort of runs through our normal sort of lives. So let's see what the others have to say about this. But you bring up a very provocative subject. So let me see if Chetandeep has managed to bring things under control.
Hanji, it seems momentarily, so
Okay.
I won't take long.
Okay.
But it's like the first line. It seems to me Guru Nanak has a very deep message where he's saying that what supports this universe, the entire universe, it runs on compassion and contentment. If we look around us, the nature, the plants, they take whatever is required for them. They don't take extra. The resources they take, the way they grow. And this comes in Japji Sahib too. Tall Taram Daya Ka Poot, Santok Thap Rakhya Jin Soot. So Santok Thap, the whole system of the universe runs on compassion and contentment. And this is the takeaway that I take away from this body. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we now have two provocative issues to address. One that Eileen raised in terms of what bearing it has on the external markers of the Sikhs that we wear today, whether it is vanity or pride, or is it what the real intention is? Have we lost it? And the second one, which I think is equally important, is what Chetandeep is saying, namely that the world runs on compassion and contentment. And he said something about resources. So I'm going to throw this out there for all of you to sort of think about as you respond also. My question to Chetandeep would be, and this is something that I wrestle with, I quite understand the compassion and contentment bit, but he mentioned resources, not using more than you need or one needs. So the question becomes, what is that marker? How much does one need? With that said, on to you, Ekonkarji.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Right.
Thank you. So when I was listening to this Pauri, I actually had a visual experience of seeing Guru Nanak saying this in the society that he was in, and how that thread was a point of organizing perception and social reality. You know, that in a caste-based system where the thread is distinguishing, you know, authority, power, status. And if you're walking around, who's got the thread? It's kind of like, I don't know if you all remember the Dr. Seuss book with the little creatures with the stars, and they're the ones who are important. And then when the other people get the stars and the ones with the stars take them off, it just reminded me of that kind of a moment, of this Dr. Seuss moment where Guru Nanak is basically literally saying the whole caste system is hanging on a thread, and I'm pulling the thread, you know, to pull it apart, and to get people to think critically about why they're participating in that social construct built around a thread, that some guy says, you've got the thread, and then the other guy's like, okay, now I'm the, you know, I'm important, and everybody goes, great, you know. And the brilliance of him challenging structure in such poetic and simple terms really struck me as we were going through this particular section, and especially with him saying, okay, you know, is your thread with your eyes? Is it with your hand? Is it with, like, is that thread doing anything practically in your life, in the way you're acting, in the way you're seeing, and the way you're perceiving? So I was just honoring that brilliance as, you know, we were going through the verse. To the provocative question about whether the turban and the kata and the 5Ks have become the thread for the Khalsa, I think that it's a double-edged sword there. I think the reality is that for some people, it really is about the status. And well, it doesn't matter if they drink or not. It doesn't matter if they have a sadhana or not. It doesn't matter if they understand Gurbani or not. If I've got the look, you know, I'm the big shot. And I think that psyche exists within the Sikh community. But I also believe that the 5Ks are very practical. Like, I think that there's a way they assist us in our development of our consciousness. And the way I talk about the turban, you know, with young people is that, you know, there's an acupressure to it. Like when you get stressed, the cranial bones in the skull shift. And if you have your turban on, it acts like an acupressure treatment to keep your mind cool under pressure. And so I tell people when I wear the turban, I say, we all need something to keep our head together. And my turban is the way to do it. But I wear it because I have that practical experience. And how we make the 5Ks a practical experience and not a ritualistic thread that's enslaving the mind and the society, I think is the double-edged sword that, you know, we have to look at. So those are my thoughts. I don't want to take too much time, but thank you for
I appreciate it. Caste system hanging on a thread. I rather like that. Ekunkarji has brought another perspective to this, namely the development of consciousness, the function of the 5Ks. So before I move on to the next person, I just want to add this. If the 5Ks can act as acupressure or reminders to the consciousness, then perhaps the Janeu played a similar role and just got degraded or corrupted as you said, our appearance has, our 5Ks have too. So I see that Dr. Ajay Singh has joined us today. Thank you very much. So you've heard the observations here. Go ahead and share yours with ours.
There were a couple of things that come to mind. Then you sort of touched on resources as well. It was partly with your presentation, and you touched on it, and I think so did Eileen, perhaps. And I look at it like this, that there are two things that drive us. One is our needs, the other is our wants. The needs are few, can be managed fairly easily in life. The wants are endless. Those are the ones that we need to get rid of or to shed. So the distinction is not so easy to make. So that is the point I would make. The rest is, well, straightforward. And obviously, if the Jiddu has, unless it has meaning to you as the Guru says there, the kapas and toksi, those kind of things, unless those things are alive in your life, nothing. Or any other such symbol means nothing. And that principle would apply to I don't want to say symbols. They're not necessarily those. They're matters of faith, markers of faith that we bear. That apply there as well. So what meaning you internalize out of that, that determines where you are. Now that is not going to be universally the same. The 25 million population of people never will be, never have been. And I won't worry too much about it, but I would worry about what does it mean to me. Why and how. That should do it. That bell rang to tell me my time is up.
Okay, thank you very much. Bhai Sahab, Harbansh Lal ji.
Haji, can you hear me?
Hanji, Hanji.
I was just curious about the translations. We are describing a Brahman performing a ceremony, and those are the audiences Hindus at that time, right? Can you hear me?
Hanji, Hanji.
But then in between comes Kau Bakra Rin Khaya. Well, the Brahman, when they do the ceremony, they don't kill Bakra. At least not to my knowledge. I have not seen or heard about it. So was this one verse added to it to involve, to make it universal, so it applies to Muslims also when they go through similar equivalent ceremonies?
Is that a question addressed to
That's
Pushpinder?
a question, yeah.
Hanji, Pushpinder Singh ji, that's a question being addressed to you. What's your take on it?
Prabpreet.
I'm sorry, Prabpreet. My apologies. Age is catching up with me.
Yeah, Virji. I'm myself not sure whether the goat was killed in the ceremony. I have never seen or been a part of such a ceremony. But my take is it doesn't seem like Nanak is trying to, attack or, for the lack of a subtler word, a particular faith or religion. I feel he is just talking about our social practices, which were so prevalent at that time amongst the Hindus or even the Muslims or anybody, and even at a personal level, how I reflected at it. I feel even today, this constant practice happens within me, where without a physical show being put up, my mind puts up such a show inside me to make me feel good. It is just a feel good factor created through a ceremony or created through my imagination, which is what Nanak is pointing at and the impermanence of that fabricated ceremony, and guiding us to look at something permanent, and in the process making this very value, devoid of any value.
Thank
Anji,
you.
thank you. Just a little observation on the question before I turn it over to the next speaker. It seems to me that there are, I mean, it may not be the Brahmin himself doing the sacrifice, but they have certainly presided over animal sacrifice in Hinduism. I mean, we know about the horse sacrifice and the very word bali, and goat sacrifice as well. So I will let the others sort of chime in on that. Who do we have next here? I just want to take a quick look. Ripudaman. Ripudaman Singh ji.
Actually, one observation, a couple of responses. The first one is that what I found very striking in all of these verses was that he's talking about obviously the sacred thread of of the upper class Hindus, but nowhere does he approach it in a way that it is a class structure, at least in the poem, in the Shabad, right? He approaches it from a perspective of a ritual. So he's very, very interesting. So he's not saying that, oh, women can't wear it. He doesn't say, oh, the shoe, nothing like that. He's actually talking about the ritualistic aspect of it. So that I found very, very striking. Then Chetanji, we had said that compassion is the organizing principle of the universe, and gave some examples. I do understand that Guru Nanak Dev Ji does say that Daya, talks about that in Japji Sahib, but just from a physical world example, no. Every living thing competes with each other in as brutal way as it can. In general, even the plants, the grasses versus the trees, it's been a fight. In fact, the height of the trees is an evolution of that. That they were fighting with the grass, and ultimately they were fighting with each other for what? For sunlight. And you see in ponds also, the algae bloom, the fish die, right? The oxygen gets sucked out. So all those things definitely happen. I think so. Those examples from the physical world can actually be very misleading. Then the next comment was on. Could you remind what Eileen had said? I thought I had a. I kind of.
She had brought up the fact that what are the five the 5 Ks? Are these?
Oh yes.
Do they stand for vanity and pride, just in the way that the caste, as Ekunkar suggested, might be a source of some caste pride?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Guru Gobind Singh Ji answered it very well in his Shabad, and I mentioned in this forum maybe a few months back. But he actually goes on to say that if you want to, if you don't see the one in whatever you do, whether it is literally helping others out, or or prayer, whatever else you're doing in life, if you don't see the one, then it all is useless. So this is the Jagat Jot Japan Nisbasur Shabad of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. So yes, if in our case, 5 Ks, we don't view it from that perspective, then it becomes a ritual. Even though they are much more egalitarian in origin, sacred thread, but it will become ritualistic. And mind you, Guru Nanak Dev Ji did not actually mention caste system here in this. Maybe it's implied because, like Ekunkar Ji said, but at least explicitly he did not point out.
Okay.
So one last question now, which
Go ahead.
is, as usual, I could not figure out how the Pauri is connected with the shlokas.
Okay.
Connected
All
with each
right.
other, but Pauri I could not find.
Fair enough.
The connection.
We'll hopefully sometime come back to that. 5 minutes left, and I want to give everyone a chance to make one last comment or question or observation. So let me start with you again, Chetandeep. He's on mute. Not there. All right. Eileen?
Thank you, Virgie. I have no more questions.
Okay. Ekogaji?
I guess my closing comment is it just feels like we could spend a month on each of these segments and not just a day. So
A few minutes.
I would love, I don't know, sometime I would love for us to go through this again at a much slower pace. That's just my comment.
Thank you. Harvinder Singh, I think you should make a note of that and perhaps survey the rest of the group and see if they want to actually spend more time. I see a lot of value in that, of course, but see how the others feel. Gurbani Singh Veerji, to you, if you're able to connect now, I think he's dropped off. Haji Paisab, any last comment?
Two things. One, I agree that we should spend more time. This, 1 hour is not enough. There's so much material in each slok. And second is that before we end, the presenter should give us what is a take-home message in this today's presentation.
Haji, we'll get there. We'll get there.
And one is of course that we should go back to our own home and see what are the फोकियां ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਰਸਮ ਰਿਵਾਜ ਰੀਤਾਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਗਈਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ. We have to pay attention to, we are increasing the ritualism every day more and more in our own gurdwaras and sangat, and we need to pay attention.
Haji, thank you, Ji. Haji Gurbani Singh Veerji, coming back to you.
Could you all hear me just now?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. Last 2 minutes or 1 minute left, so I'm just going to give my comments only. I think the issue about what Sikhi and Hinduism, we just got to go back to history. We should actually look at history of how Guru Nanak evolved his thoughts, and we will see there that he actually criticized make-believe, superstitious, and all those things that was dividing people, inequalities and so on, in general terms, not specifically just Hindus. So if we see that from that light, we should look at our own practices that also do this and then condemn them. My take is we have to be role models. We use role models to lead our kids to follow. If you say these are not important, after a while, the whole system breaks down and there's no real structure. But they should be periphery. They should not be the core. The core should still be Naam. And you look at Guru Nanak's body, is the instruction to you. Focus on that. And also grace, I think the first speaker spoke about compassion and all this. I would hesitate to take any particular word out because ultimately there's one Shabad that says you can do a lot of these things and do compassion as well and still not get the grace. So we should not try to narrow down Gurbani to this is the formula, this is the way. I like Gurbani because it leaves you in a lurch at the end and say, after doing all this, you still depend on the grace. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hanji, Dr. Ajit Singh, one last comment.
The last comment, a brief one I would make is that the essence of all the readings we did today, and perhaps any other day as well, Gurbani, is overwhelmingly on a life of introspection. Think what you're doing. Not be satisfied with comparisons with others and say, well, they do this, they burn their dinner or whatever. Meaningless. We don't do that, it will be better. That's not the issue. The issue is to think within, dive within, see what we are up to. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ripudaman, 30 seconds for you.
Never right Indian process.
Hanji, which is just, I think so. It's about rituals that don't blindly follow rituals. Just think about what you're doing in life, and then the Pauri actually describes how to live your life. So that's what I think.
Thank you. Prapreet Singh Ji, thank you very much again. And as Pahir Banslal said, maybe you can leave us with one takeaway.
Do we have a minute? Can I share my
Haji, Chetan Singh is back.
Yeah, sorry. So I just wanted to share a quick observation. It might seem like that in this slow, Guru Nanak Sahib is criticizing the outer, but in my head, outer and inner are not mutually exclusive. Or rather, for example, in Japji Sahib he says, "Soche soch na ho gayi, je sochi lag baar." So, but asi nana ta nahi band karta, right? We haven't stopped bathing. Chuppe chup na ho gayi, bhukhya bhukh na utri. We haven't stopped any of these. So I think there is, he's not completely saying that don't do outer, but he's saying bin buje karam kamavne. Unless you understand, then everything is ritualistic, no matter what we do.
Thank you. Haji Prabpreet Singh ji, any
Hanji,
takeaway for us?
Yeah, of the many takeaways, one thing I wanted to quickly say is the way Nanak sets the scene and is so logically able to reason the entire situation. I think Gyan, sometimes we undermine Gyan and knowledge that and say that this is just an experience thing. So don't get too much into knowledge and reading too much. But it is knowledge which has got us into the knowledge of our identity, and to a certain extent, to get out of it, only knowledge will help us reason out of where we are stuck. So till a certain point, knowledge is also very important. So that's one takeaway. And secondly, quickly, even I would second the thought of having a discussion on the practices in Sikhi, because I myself grapple with them quite a bit. So would welcome that.
ठीक है जी. Well, we're out of time. Again, thank you for a wonderful session. And we'll figure out how we want to go back to this party and how we want to discuss it. But that said, thank you all of you again. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Ji ki fateh.